Hey, listener. We hope you've enjoyed Season 5 of RecLess as much as we have. We are wrapping up the rest of this season and putting together new episodes for Season 6. But as we wait, we are going to highlight some new episodes from a spin-off podcast, This Parks and Rec Life. As much as we believe in professional development of ourselves as Parks and Rec professionals, we also know that we couldn't do this without a supportive home life. We hope that you enjoy these conversations and that they spark meaningful conversations for you. These episodes will be released in our feed currently, but in the future will be released in their own podcast channel and on YouTube. We hope you enjoy them. Now on with the show.
My love is a place you can always call home.
Welcome to This Parks and Rec Life, a podcast exploring the impact of a parks and recreation career on the home life of a professional and their family. I'm your host, Hannah Mize, and my co-host today is Meredith Lawrence, Parks and Recreation Director and Assistant Public Works Director for the City of Mendota Heights in Mendota Heights, Minnesota. Welcome, Meredith. How are you?
Anna, I am doing great. Thank you for having me on, and I'm excited to speak with two women that have had incredible careers, but I think more importantly are incredible humans and have a lot to share with us today.
I'm glad that you said that. I'm thrilled today to have Kara Kish, Director of Parks and Rec in Loveland, Colorado, and also Sarah Sandquist, Executive Director of the Champaign Park District in Champaign, Illinois. So welcome, ladies. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Yep.
And before we go any further, did I get titles correct on everyone?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, as we are here today, I'm excited to continue a conversation that we've been having with various couples and various guests that we've had on about sustainability in a career that is community service and what that looks like on a home life, how you navigate that mentally, how you navigate that relationally, how you manage to be sustainable in a field that it sometimes feel like it takes everything and kind of be all consuming. So we've had married couples, we've had single guests. Meredith is one of those, and I'm thrilled to have her back. And as we're looking at this today, we have a contrast of two of those. So we have one single, but then we have one that has a family at home. And so as we're looking at that, ladies, I'm really excited to start to explore what it looks like to have a support system and how you create a support system and create boundaries between work and your personal life. I don't know if whichever one of you guys wants to go first. I'll let you kind of introduce yourself and maybe kind of start to say a little bit about it.
Kara, go ahead.
You got it. Hi, everybody. So you have Kara Kish. I am over 20 years in the profession now, and for most of that time, I have been single. When I first started my career, I was with a college boyfriend who became a husband, but that relationship did not last too long. So really, for the vast majority of my career, I've been navigating this world as a single human, and obviously has influenced my need to create support systems, whether or not they're family, friends, colleagues. And I look forward to speaking with you about that today.
I'm Sarah Sandquist, and also have been in the field for over 20 years now. And I have been married to my husband, or we've been in a relationship pretty much the entire time. But what's changed throughout our relationship and my time in the field is the addition of two little ones as well, several moves across the country, also with some different jobs. And so just having a support system when I'm at work and during the day looks a little bit differently than what it looks like at home when I come through the door, and how my priorities shift a little bit. And it's been interesting to try to find that balance of being on all the time in all the places.
I love both of you guys are part of our YPN family. And so I've gotten to know both of you for a very, very long time. And I shouldn't say very, very long time, but
It's been
you
a
guys
while.
are, it has been a while. And y'all are both near and dear to my heart and also to Shane's heart. And we've been I feel honored to be part of y'all's support system too. You know, as we visited with each other, we see each other regularly throughout the year and talk on Zoom calls and all that kind of stuff. So as you both have gone through and developed your own support system, what would you say has been the hardest part about being in the field, and then maybe like navigating that with a support system? I don't know if Sarah, do you want to start that part off? Like the hardest part, I guess maybe on your support system about being in the field.
Um, I think I think a challenge that I've had, and I don't know if it's been the most difficult part, but um, I do want to share challenges and successes and stuff with my spouse. And I think sometimes he would, it's a lot, right? Like there's a lot going on all the time. And so just trying to figure out like how I can share stuff with him without him just being like, okay, that's enough. Like, what do I do? And so I do on that, look for other outlets and, with the YPN and picking up the phone and calling. I think one big challenge that I have, like coming into more leadership roles is that it is pretty lonely at the top. And, there's a lot of sensitive things that go on that I can't just go down the hall and talk with a colleague about. And so being able to have a sounding board in somewhere has been really important in finding a support system. And then I think in Champaign, I mean, it's like big town, small town. And so it's just like everybody's in everybody's business all the time. And I can't go anywhere without seeing like, 10, 15 people that which my family gets really annoyed with. They're just like, ugh, like, do you have to say hi to like that person again? Or, and so, I don't know, just it's maybe not something I anticipated working through or dealing with.
I think one of the challenges, and Sarah, you just mentioned it, and moving around. So I have served in a couple of municipalities throughout my career. And so, 3 years here, a decade here. The local support system, we'll say, of where I live is just something that I have to continue to strengthen every time I move. I'm not switching to a department across the street. I am switching states and moving to different regions of the country. And so a challenge has been building that local support system, which is great to connect with peers who are in the same environment as you are, but there's only so far you can go in those conversations. Establishing friendships itself takes time, and then a depth of understanding of them really being a strong support system takes time as well. So for me, mostly I have navigated throughout my career with a support system that is professional colleagues, friends in the profession, and family, and some other friends that come along the way. But I need two types of support. And the challenge is often I need the professional support. So I need to speak with somebody who cares about me, but is also understanding of the professional challenges that I am experiencing, because I need to talk through those, navigating politics, just different types of things that present themselves in the public sector. So I need that support system that understands the professional challenges. And then I also need a support system who supports me as just a human, as a woman, and maybe has nothing to do with my professional work. But so I've looked to family for that. And in the case of my life, I've just had the great fortune that professional colleagues have become family themselves. And so the profoundness of having a group who not only understands the support needed from the professional challenge, but also has the support as serving you as a family member would look at you and love you. Those are just challenges that I've navigated through, and I'm very, very happy to say, and I feel very lucky that, as of today, I have a great support system.
I admire the two of you so very much. I always am telling Shane that you guys are, you both are badass women. Every time see you guys, I'm always like, oh, I want to be them whenever I grow up. And Kara, I tell you what, one of the things that I have always admired the most about you is you are unbelievably courageous. Like you will just jump out there and take all different, and you have literally moved all over the place across the country, and you've done it. We've moved several times, and I have to say that if I'd had to do it by myself, I don't know if I could have done it. But it was easier because I had somebody that was going with me, and so I wasn't doing it alone. I wasn't going and finding a new apartment or going and trying out a whole new city and navigating new things. So where do you think that your just unbelievable bravery has come from? What have you done to build that? Because I do admire it so much.
Let's see. I think more than anything, I'm a product of my parents. Like, I was raised by two incredible humans who were, had the leadership traits to serve in executive leadership while raising a family. They were bold and courageous in their careers as well. My mother was a young woman professional in the field of mental health where women were not welcomed. And she became an executive pretty young and then had to fight through many of those barriers. My dad was an incredibly creative businessman, worked for national banks, and brought a lot of creativity. Conversation I had with him often through life that he loved to tell these stories of were these moments in his career where he basically put his job on the line, saying, I think that this is the next step forward. And those turned out to be successful successful models that he presented. And gosh, if it comes from anywhere, it's from being raised by my parents and then supported. So when I started doing that on my own and putting myself in leadership positions and seeking out leadership positions and the courage, I guess, to try new things or take the next step before maybe somebody thought I should. Both of my parents were there as an incredible support system for me, cheering me along and catching me when I fell. They were empathetic, but also constructive and helping me maybe reframe something. So yeah, if who I am came from anywhere, it's from my mother and father, Sharon and Jim Kish.
I love that. Sarah, I want to kind of pose the same question to you because anytime I see you, and even whenever we've hung out at conference and you're on the phone and you're talking through big situations that have happened back in the office and I'm overhearing it, I've always been very I admire you guys very much that you are able to y'all are fearless leaders. So for the same with you, what have you done? How have you really cultivated that courageousness and that leadership?
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about it as Kara was talking, where this has maybe come from. I don't know. I guess I just have I don't know, found myself in leadership roles throughout my life, and big and small, and like stepping up to raise my hand when other people won't. And I feel like part of that has been through having some really amazing mentors when I was younger and earlier in my career, to say, like, you need to raise your hand. You need to say yes. You need to, be the one that volunteers for things. And so, and seeing I don't know, seeing mentors do that as well too, before I had the opportunity to even just, younger in life, like in high school and college and stuff. So I think modeling after really strong leaders that I've had has shaped me as a leader. And I aim to model that same thing to our young professionals as well too, and participating in the Academy Mentorship Program, and we have a lot of young staff too that make me feel really old, but trying to encourage them to get involved as well too, and sharing ideas, and it's okay, we might not do your idea, but please like speak up to share it at least, is important.
I think the really cool thing about this is, Sarah, your kids are seeing you lead this way, and they're seeing their mom do these incredible things. And someday they're going to be saying, I learned leadership and strength from my mom. And at the same time, Kara, as a single person, my friends' kids almost become my kids, right? I am the Auntie Meredith, right? I show up at sports games and accomplishments for them and school events. And I think there's still a huge part of my life that I am passing on to that next generation. And I'm sure it's the same for you, Kara, where being an auntie, even though I'm a single only child, is a huge part of my life. And so I think that's exciting that someday young people are going to be saying the same thing about you guys.
Thank you. And that expands to Sarah and I.
Yeah.
In our relationship, I've been a part of her boy's life, and they know me and I know them, and yeah.
So one of the questions, oh, Sarah, you go.
Oh,
You
it's
have
just to
something to
say, yeah, Kara's got it's such a special relationship with our kids, with my kids, and I love it. So the extension of our friendship to her, getting to know them and then knowing her, and it's phenomenal.
I'm known for bringing lots of candy and treats, and whenever we go places, they get everything they want, and that sometimes backfires on me. But that's what happens when you get to leave them at the end of the
Yeah,
evening
you get to
too,
go
and say
home.
goodbye. Yeah, yeah.
I brought a 2-foot long gummy stick the last time I was there, and it was a big hit.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So one of the questions I have is, Kara, you're probably similar to me, where the end of the day comes and staff start leaving, and it's like, hey, have a good night, see you tomorrow. And one of my, I think, superpowers a little bit is my ability to stay late and finish projects when I have to, and have that flexibility during the day to take care of things, knowing that I don't have a husband texting me saying, when are you coming home? When are you going to get here? Or kids that I have to pick up from school. And so one of the questions, Kara, for you is, how do you set boundaries knowing that you still have a life? You still have things at home to do and that you want to do outside of the home life and hobbies you have. And then, Sarah, how do you make sure that when the kids need to get picked up, the kids get picked up, because the kids aren't going to be stranded left at school? So how does that work?
It's that situation that you've just described is most of my weeknights at work. I come in a little bit later, like an 8:30 start. But there are often times where I am the last person off of the Civic Center campus. So it extends beyond just my work, my office, but it's reflective of everything that you just said. Like, there are often times where I'm like, great, I have all of this sort of silence and uninterrupted time, and I don't have somewhere I need to be. And so it affords me that space. And every once in a while, I have that inner dialogue when I'm like, why am I still here? What am I doing? I like to set appointments or times with friends that get me out of the office. So if I have a doctor's appointment, maybe I'm setting it for like 3:30 p.m., 4 p.m. If I'm setting dinners with my friends, I make sure that it's like a 5 p.m., 5:30, something like that. I try and create space to actually force me to get out the door. But outside of the work days, I think that, well, first of all, I have a supportive work environment that is not invading my, we're on call 24 hours a day, but when that happens, it's pretty extreme that I'm getting a phone call. So my boundaries are really in my weekends and my vacation time. So making sure that I'm not taking work home with me on a Friday night, if possible. I'm taking work home tonight, but not taking work home with me, and then really leaning into my trust in my team so that when I step away on a vacation day or an extended vacation, that person really has my full authorities in my role, and I am not checking in. So, but it's funny that you bring up the very conscious thought that as my team are leaving, that they're going home to their families. And the reason I'm not leaving is because I'm not going home to a family. And so thank you for sharing that, because I don't know that I've ever talked to somebody about them having that same internal dialogue.
It is my worst nightmare that I will get the phone call from the after school program that they're like, are you going to come today and pick up your children? Luckily, that's not normally a problem, but yeah, that's like, I don't want to be that. And I do, luckily after school goes till 6 o'clock, but I like to try to pick up the kids like in the 5 o'clock, like earlier, closer to 5 o'clock, because I want to see them. And, but when I came to Champaign, so I've been here for a little over 3 years, I was coming from an environment where work environment where I really didn't feel like I could turn it off ever. And there was an expectation that we just the entire city was on all the time. And so when I came here, I tried to like set an intentional boundary from square one, from day one, that like on Fridays and on weekends, I'm not working unless like absolutely I have to. And I try to extend that to my team as well too. I don't think that was the case before I was here. And so I have heard from staff that it's nice to not like, they know that if I'm reaching out to them, like absolutely need something. And so I've tried to keep that same boundary with myself. My kids know, like if I come home from work and I take my laptop out, they're like, okay. Because it doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's like, all right, mom's got to work, like leave her alone. And I really appreciate that with them. So I don't know. I mean, I think that I've tried to prioritize things a little bit better, and urgent things are urgent, and nothing most of the time really isn't that urgent. It can wait. So I try to batch my work to really, make sure that I'm addressing things that are very top priority, and then, reasonably, my inbox is not clean all the time. Sometimes that gets ahead of me, and it's fine. I have to go back and say, I'm really sorry. I couldn't keep up. But in general, like really just trying to keep that boundary, I think has helped.
I think setting boundaries is it's hard in anything. Honestly, I struggle with it. I work from home, and so sometimes that is the hardest part because I'm here, and so I just keep on working instead of,
Yeah, work.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's so like being able to turn it off. So as you guys have created those boundaries, what have been some things that you do, like, which Kara, you mentioned, like you schedule a dinner at 5 o'clock, so you have to leave. I love that. But what have been some other things, like, so that you leave space for the things that you do that you love? Because I know that both of you guys have very specific hobbies and things that you do that are completely outside of Parks and Rec. So speak to a couple of those things that you do that keep you sane and keep you excited for what you do every day.
Well, I really enjoy my me time. So I find that I can get that in the morning early, either before the kids are awake or around the same time that they're awake, to exercise or go for a run. Spending that time listening to a podcast or with music, and just like, I don't know, setting my intentions for the day, if that's what really happens. But and then I find joy in like being involved with my kids' stuff. So they're very athletic and active, and so being at their activities, it's March 27th, but pool season is coming. And so spending time every afternoon at the pool is very important once it becomes warm enough for that to happen.
Interestingly, I think because I am single, that so many people think that I have all this free time and so I just do whatever I want, whenever I want. But Sarah saying about like setting your intentions, I've always used the word like in order to keep space for the things that I love to do, I try and be extremely intentional about it. So buying the ticket to whatever the performance, concert, event is, buying the ticket ensures that Thursday night that I'm really tired and I just want to go home and go to bed, but I also really care about this other thing. And so, oh, I got a ticket, so I need to go. And I always feel so good after I do the thing that I know that I love. And again, in order to not like wake up Saturday morning and just say, I just want to sleep all day. I mean, I love to plan out hikes. I love to plan out trips. So I drive the joy from the planning process, then I actually experience the thing, and then I get the joy from reflecting upon it. So despite many just thinking that my life is just a breeze and I've got all this time and I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, I think unless I am intentional about I mean, like you said, I know the things that I'm passionate about. I just need to say, okay, I'm going to do those things. I think, absent that intentionality, I might find myself reflecting back on a year of, or I really didn't do the things that I love to do. And yet, I make sure that I do. And then my life is full with those experiences and the people connections that are really important to me.
Sarah, I had to laugh when you say that you think people think you just have all this time on your hands and you don't do anything and you sit around and pet a cat, because I think there's a lot of people that sometimes have thought that about myself. I think the other thing is I think there's a stereotype when you're single that you're just sad and life's hard. And I always tell people I love the life I live. I love my life. I love what I do. I love the people I do it with. My friends have become family, and I'm really happy and proud of this life. And all my friends are like, well, are you going to get married someday? And when I find Prince Charming and I can retire, then maybe, right? But for now, life is really good. And I think that's a great point you bring up, that even though we're single people in this field, we still have a lot of joy and hobbies and people in our life that truly, truly matter to us. And if we don't get anything out of this today other than that, then I will feel like I have succeeded for all the other single people out there.
I think the other important part of that for both of you is the word intention, right? Like you have to intentionally set boundaries. You have to intentionally make a plan, whether that's going to the pool or that's buying the ticket or whether it's leaving work on time, whether that's going to dinner with friends or picking your kids up from school. Like it's important to be intentional because, like you say, if you can get to the end of the year and all of a sudden be like, it's done and I didn't do any of the things that I wanted to do. So yeah, I think that that intentionality is also what keeps you sane and makes things sustainable.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
kudos to we both. Yes. Did you have another one, Meredith?
I can always come up with questions. That's for
Go
sure.
for
They might
it.
not know
Go
what's
for
coming
it.
for them, but
Oh, great.
Sarah knows what's coming. It's just
Yeah.
gonna come out of thin air. I think one of the things that I've been reflecting on a lot is resilience, strength, tenacity in this field. And no job is perfect. I told that to someone today. No career is perfect. No experience is perfect. But there are really, really difficult times in this field that really challenge us. And then there's really exciting moments that you want to share with people. And Kara, I loved hearing about your parents and that relationship you shared that really helped I think, bring you into this field and become someone that has become a leader and a mentor and someone that young women like myself can look up to. But what do you do? What do you turn to? What hobbies do you turn to? What people do you turn to? What goes through your head on those hard days when you don't know what's next and how you're going to get through? And I know, Kara, you've had challenges both personally and professionally in the last couple of years that, again, to Hannah's point, your resilience, your courage, your tenacity, your strength is just so admirable. And I'm just really curious, like, how do you do it?
Oh gosh, I talked about this on RecLess. I mean, I just I have my unwavering North Star, and I wonder if that would be altered if I had a family and maybe there was something that exceeds that North Star. But like I've dedicated my life and my career, and um, I don't know, it's not, I don't want to call it a calling. I don't view it that way. It's just where my heart is in public service. And that is not an easy choice to choose that role. And when you mentioned my parents, I don't think that they got me into, neither one of them were public servants. I mean, my mother was a nonprofit professional and my father was in private industry. But they created the space for me to pursue. I mean, I remember when I told them I was going to go get a degree in recreation sport management, they were like, "Oh, that sounds like no career at all." Um, but very quickly they adjusted course when I kind of told them what I wanted to do with it. And as somebody who, had only worked in government, started as a lifeguard and progressed my way, they created the space for me to feel supported. And then I was just talking about this the other day, that my parents were both extremely expressive in that they loved what I chose to do for a living. So that stays with me even today, just the amount of pride and love. And I didn't mean to talk so much about my parents. For those who are listening and didn't know, I recently lost them a couple years ago. But I carry them with me. Everything about me and my strengths are a product of how they raised me. I don't remember what you were really trying to get at. My apologies.
No, I mean, I think that's great. I think the biggest thing is you find ways to get through that, and it's your support system, it's your
Oh, sure.
friends, it's your family, it's your
Yeah.
colleagues. I mean, I know you and Sarah are very close, and I think you've just gone through some difficult things and you've still persevered. And I admire that a lot about you. And I think that North Star piece is huge.
Yeah, so even when I'm alone, nobody's available to pick up the phone. I'm walking home to a support system that is not built in. And then the next person I call isn't available. Like I still am in a space where I need to find my way through, support myself for whatever that emotional need is or that technical need is, whatever I need to process through. And when I am alone, I I can often conjure like what I think Sarah would say to me, or what my mom would say, or what my mentors would say. It's really nice to get the reinforcement from those individuals who are a part of your life. Um, but it's not always accessible to me. And so I do, because my family has been a part of my life my entire life. My friends we're over 15 years and really deep professional and personal relationships. I feel like even when I am not directly connected to them, like their influence on me and their support of me is with me. So
And Sarah, is to contrast that a little bit, you do have Matt at home, you've got your kids at home. What would you say has been the best part or the perk of, I don't even want to say the perk, I guess, of Parks and Rec in their life, right? But of them being they're a very big part of your support system, I think,
Yeah.
as you go home. So what would you say about that?
Well, I was just trying to think about this as Kara was talking, and you know, I like to think that when we're experiencing something challenging, you know, that it's hopefully a season that, you know, we will work through it. It will pass. It will. And I feel like with, you know, raising my kids and kind of like working through each stage of that has maybe helped me, like on the personal side, helped me professionally to, um, I don't know, just try to it's not the whole thing, right? Like there's a challenge going on, but we can figure it out. I'm very solution oriented. And so, you know, trying to work through things to find a solution to something and then to move on. So, you know, sharing with Matt about challenges, but also like I don't necessarily want to continue to like grind on something.
Well,
Um, beyond that, so I'd rather, you know, shift my focus and move on to something else. But I think definitely having that available, having Matt available to share challenges with, obviously it's been really helpful. And I also don't remember what the original question was, but sorry.
no, I think that is it. Is just, you know, as we're going through this, just highlighting the differences of both situations have their pros and cons, right? And I think ultimately, no matter where you are in this, it's important to have a support system. It's important to be able to grow that, to cultivate it, to, if you don't have one, to be able to figure out ways to create one. So no, I think that you both answered the question.
Well, and I love being able to call Kara or, you know, and to like talk me off the ledge. And I think I do the same thing for her as well too, that like this, you know, whatever it is it's gonna be okay. Like, we're gonna figure out a path forward. It's gonna be okay. And um just having that available is, uh, you know, really wonderful.
Yeah, this too shall pass. Conversations are good, right?
Yeah. Oh, I was just when I was talking about like with my kids and how they've taught me that, Hannah, you probably can relate, like when they're a baby or young, you know, and you like find something that works and you're like, okay, we finally figured it out. And then like 3 weeks later, it's like they grow or they have a sleep regression or something, and it's just like that thing doesn't work anymore, and it's like,
Yeah,
man, I had it all figured out and now like we have to start all over again. And so I feel like that's you know, just a lot of like flexibility and um moving through things and trying new things, trying things until they work, but then being ready to change course if needed.
agreed. I think that is something that when you have kids, I think it's something it's easier to recognize because it happens, like you say, they'll sleep for 2 months and then all of a sudden they don't sleep anymore, or they're in elementary school and so you get this little routine down, and then they're not in elementary and they're moving to middle school, and then that routine changes, and then they're, in high school and that routine changes. But the fact of the matter is that I think everybody ends up going through that at some point with, there's a season for the cycle of the job that you're in, with the colleagues that you have. you
Yeah.
know um I remember there have been several times that I've worked with a certain group of people, and I'm like, man, this is the best team we've ever had. I love this season that we're in. And then a personal leave. Then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
everything that we were doing doesn't work anymore. We have to start all over. So I think that season that you do it until it doesn't work and then you try something new is important for any stage, honestly.
So one of my questions for you both is looking back, you've been in the field, your career has been 20 years long or so. You've still got time to go in the career that you're in and the field. But what advice do you have to young people that are interested in this field, that are getting into it, whether that's personally with your life situation or professionally? I'm a firm believer of reflection. It surprises a lot of people because I think I come off as a pretty goofy person, but reflection for me, every day I write down, what did I learn today about myself? What did I learn about the field? What do I want to improve on going forward? So what advice would you have for a young female getting into this field?
I, as a title chaser for a while, young in my younger days, I would give advice to a young female to, you can have a lot of impact in the role that you're in, and um, and to really try to think about how and what you can do to provide impact at whatever level you're at. And it doesn't matter that you're just a coordinator. It doesn't matter, what your title is, because you can have impact in your organization, at the state level, national, you name it, in the position that you're in. And so I don't know, I wouldn't regret any of my moves and my title chasing, but that might have helped me if I had received that advice.
And I'd like to build on that. I think that too often the title of director is seen as success, right? And I appreciate anybody who has the ambition to be a director. It was always my goal. It's always where I felt like my skill set is best served. But I think a lot of people fall into the trap of, I got to do this so that I can get this, and then there and there and there, because I need to be a director. That is the definition of success. And so if I could provide any advice, is that it's not a definition of success, it's a role. And we started off this conversation talking about the weight that both Sarah and I carry in our roles, and you as well, Meredith. Like, this role requires that we carry this with us. So even though we've been talking about this whole podcast about how we're creating space for ourselves and stepping away from this, like, these are heavy jobs. These are potentially unstable jobs. And first of all, choosing a career in public service, but being very clear to a young professional on what this role is, and making sure that if somebody is title chasing and if somebody has an ambition to be a director, when somebody comes up to me and says, I want to be a director one day, I always follow it up with why. Like, tell me the why. And if it has anything to do with the title and just the perception of success, I try and break that down a little bit. And if your ambition and your desire is to be a director, like, do it open-eyed, like, do it knowing that it bears a certain way, that it bears your responsibilities in that role. Taking action as a director is one of our greatest responsibilities, and a lot of people might not have that comfort level with making decisions. So just my only advice would be, understanding that a director's position is a role, a deputy director's position, a division chief is a position, or their roles, and they, while the title may seem fancy or desirable, that they carry this weight that we've been talking this whole time about. How do we manage the weight of these roles?
I love that. And I have a sign on my wall that I just pulled my laptop down to remind myself of, and it says leadership is an action, not a position. And I think that's a huge part of what we do. And when you talk about impact, our team's program coordinator, and our team's recreation facilities coordinator have such a larger impact on our community than I will ever have in the role that I am in. And that's something that I sometimes miss about that position. When I was hands-on at a program, you're changing lives, and now we're leading the people that are making that impact. And I think it's an important job, but it's an important piece to remember too, that as you move up the ladder, I think the job really does change, and sometimes it changes and it's not all that it's cracked up to be.
Agreed.
Your impact
Agreed.
changes, but it's, your impact might grow, but like you said, the direct impact that you can see immediately is I mean, it's really rewarding. And so, not to say that the impact that we have at this level is not rewarding, because it's totally rewarding, but at a different, it's a different type of impact.
I love to talk about the strength of you guys, and thank you, Kara, for bringing that back around with the weight. That the weight of what you guys do is necessary, and it is definitely just part of the job. Um, and it's also important to be able to withstand it too, right? And to be able to do things that give yourself the ability to be able to withstand it. So with that, um, Sarah, you mentioned that you like to listen to podcasts. I know that you were recently on a podcast where you talked all about your favorite kind of music, which I was very intrigued about that. And I know, Kara, you're a big reader. You like to journal. You're very introspective. What are y'all's favorite media? Like, do you have like a favorite book? Do you have a favorite leadership book or a podcast that you listen to, or music that gets you pumped up? What have you got?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'll jump in while you look like you're thinking.
Okay.
That podcast was super fun. We have a local independent radio station, and so it was 30 minutes, and half of it was like me picking my favorite songs to play, and then we talked about them, and I picked like all of my favorite songs that I like to listen to, and they're all there. It wasn't anything new. It wasn't new music, because I think that's a like very typical millennial trait, that like we listen to the music that we listen to. Maybe it's a human trait, but we listen to the music that we listened to when we were like 19 and 20. So that is like what gets me going. And I love that my children will request to listen to the same music. So I'm imparting that influence on them. And then in addition to listening to RecLess, I've been listening to this podcast. It's called Too Beautiful to Live. It's hosted by Luke Burbank and Andrew Walsh, and it's two guys from the Pacific Northwest. Luke Burbank is like on CBS Sunday morning and on Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me sometimes. So he's a bit of a more noted person, but they just talk about like current events, but it's funny and lighthearted, and I've been listening to them since the early 2000s, and they're like my friends. I like get onto, TBTL, and it's just like listening to your friends. And it's like a nice extension of, it's kind of the same thing when you jump onto RecLess or onto to this podcast. Like you just kind of feel like you're part of the podcast, even though you're not the guest on it.
That's cool.
Media. Okay. Yes,
Or books.
I love
Doesn't have to be just media.
it,
Or books.
well, I would consider that.
Okay.
Music, very loud, and I like the earphones that I can just, my phone's like, this is too loud, and I'm like, I don't care. And I also listen to a lot of like heavy music. So I don't know. I don't know. It allows me to not think. I just and emote with the song, and so I love like when I'm cooking or just doing stuff around the house. I'll have some very, very loud music in my ears, and then reading really is my I probably should not say I don't listen to podcasts, although that is true. I when I need the most fulfillment out of reading, I like to read to learn. So yeah, I get stuck on books about government every once in a while, and they're not leadership books. I really don't gravitate towards the leadership stuff. But like I like to learn about the history of the New Deal and it's really dorky stuff. But I love to learn. It takes me into a place where my brain and my energies are learner is my top strengths finder, so it makes sense that all these inputs are the things that I derive great joy from. So reading, predominantly nonfiction, like reading to learn, but I also greatly enjoy reading for the purposes of entertainment. So I belong to a book club and all that, and I get that type of exposure to literature that's, you know, sharing a different world with me that I don't have any exposure to, or just making me think about the world in a different way. So those are the two medias that I would say daily are a part of my life, especially in that space that is just me. It's usually occupied with music and books.
I really enjoy reading thrillers. You know, the last 100 pages of a book is like, all right, it's all coming together. Um, and I've always been a reader, but I feel like some of you may know that I'm a bit competitive, and I mean, I know it's a surprise, but I think it was like at the end of 2024 was when it really started. Like people were like, you know, it started with like the Spotify. And I don't actually like listen to a whole lot of Spotify, so I can't like play in that, like the whatever it's called at the end of the year, where you show your stats of how you listen to a million minutes of music. But the like book game came in like I think at the end of 2024, where everyone was like, I read 15 books this year, I read a million books, you know. And I was like, oh, I haven't I haven't been like paying attention to how many books I read. Um and so I started tracking it and was like, well, I'm going to set a goal and then I'm going to, you know, try to achieve it. And um so that's been I don't know, just an incentive of like keeping me reading, because I also really enjoy doing like New York Times puzzles, and the new crossplay is really keeping me busy. Um, so like stepping away from a screen to, you know, jump into a book is just a nice activity. But then having that little like, okay, well, I said I was going to read this many books this year, and so I better work on that goal. So I'm
So
going to try.
what's been your highest goal? What's been the highest number you've read?
Oh, well, I set it at 40 last year and I didn't hit it, so I'm working at that.
I had
I
said
wouldn't
it
mind.
like I'd said it like 20 and I made it to like 18. And then this year I failed dismally. I've given up.
So I could go down a whole rabbit hole about this, but last year I was reading a book that it's speaking of pool season. I started a book like at the beginning of June. It was The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen. So it's like a decently long book. I have started to like read this book probably 10 other times in my life. And uh, I was like, this is the time. I'm going to do it. I'm going to read this book. It took me 3 months to read this book. And so that like really set me back, because 40 books in a year means, you know, more than one a month. Um, and then I just like go in lulls where it's like, yeah, I'm like reading like voraciously and then I'm not. And so it's fine. It's okay.
Thing.
If we're doing a book share, I'll say,
Yeah.
the last book I read was called The Extinction of Experience. And it's, I don't remember the name of the author right now, but it was a wonderful sort of um, social look at how we exist in the world today. And that even when we're in shared spaces, we're often in our individual worlds. And I know I try and distance myself from the phone, but I'm the one person who's like on the bus, not looking at their phone, or standing in line and not looking at their phone, or I just, The Extinction of Experience is an incredible book that connects with our world. You know, we are you know, experience designers, and we create the places, and we activate the places to create experiences, which is so embedded as a value, a very human value, and as society, we have been very comfortable with identifying it as a legitimate function of government, which is why we're all here today. But it's a fascinating book at how even in public spaces, we are still losing the connection with others, and we're existing in our phones. And so as long as we're doing a book share.
I wrote it down. I'm looking that one up. That sounds really great.
Sounds a little above my reading level. I need the Spark Notes version, you know. I'm always the first to say I'm not the brightest person in the room by any means, but I can have the most fun. So
I do love to share all of these different ideas. Well, ladies, do you have anything else that you would like to share with us? Meredith, do you have any last questions?
yeah, I think one of the questions I had as my final question is,
Please.
I've been in a leadership class recently for public works, which is kind of similar to what we do, right? It's that public service piece. And one of the things we've been tasked with doing is coming up with what we want our staff, our councils, our families, our friends to say to us at a retirement party. And it's kind of like, this is bizarre. I mean, I'm probably 40 years from retiring at the way the world is going now, but it's kind of an interesting question, and it's something I've been dwelling on a lot. Of what do I want people to say on my last day of work? Is it something that I'm proud of? Is it something that I'm not? And the other question we've been dwelling a lot on is, what are the things that you want to say to the people that have never turned their back on you? Kind of what's that message? And so I don't know if either of you want to share either of those, but I've been dwelling on it, and it's been on my mind, and I was journaling about it last night, and it was one of the things that I thought I would ask.
Wow, well, that's kind of a lot. I was just having a conversation. I have the luxury of we live across the street from my kids' school, and so we walk to school every day. And this past Monday was the first day back after spring break, and I think we all were like, ugh, why do we have to go back? And they said, like, when are you going to retire? And both Matt and I were like, I don't know, probably never. And I mean, that's not true, but I do feel like I probably like have another, I don't know, 20 years in me. And so to think about like what I want people to say about me, I do think about this a little bit at like awards ceremonies when people get big awards and like lifetime achievement awards and what's said about them. And then like in like recent accomplishments, I don't know, I guess I'd really love somebody to talk about my like how I've like connected the community or provided impact, and whether that's through like definitely through relationships, right? Like a conversation about relationships that I've built throughout the organization and in my time with the organization, and then in the community, and then in the broader scope of kind of like at the different levels. So like within, advocacy areas and, state and national. I think I would love to hear about that. And work, that's kind of like where my head's at. Like that's my why. That's like why I'm here.
Really excited to hear that at the Academy banquet that we both have asked for it to be longer. So there'll be plenty of time for you to do that.
I will look forward to a 20-minute Pugsley Award recipient speech.
Okay, reflecting back. So my supervisor, I love he uses a phrase that he says, we're in the forever business. And the reality is that much of the parkland development that we do, the facilities are probably going to outlive us, but they're not forever, but they're still long lasting. I mean, we are acquiring lands, conserving lands, building parks. I mean, I can't think of, we've all stepped in parks that are 200 years old. Like it's what we do is going to leave a legacy far beyond us. I try not to think too much in the, so many of our park systems are already built out. Like we were not a part of the wave of, community park development in the way that they designed systems. The emerald necklaces, like that's beyond our system development right now, and we're still creating new spaces, and we're still purchasing lands for conservation. But when somebody speaks, so obviously I would love for to be associated with those works that were created during my tenure, that belong to that forever business, that get to be a part of the system in perpetuity. Those are sort of the big things that we do, the big public things that we do. But I also pride myself a lot on, and I would love if somebody says the impact I had on the workforce. So I've done a lot of reorganizations in the organizations I've served. I've done a lot of promotion of women. I've broken down some critical barriers that we're creating a race division within management and labor. Those are, those won't exist 100 years from now, maybe not even 20 years from now, but they made a profound impact in the systems while I was in them, and then they're still existing. They're still impacting that. So yeah, I think there's very short-term impacts that we're having on our communities, on our workplaces. I think there's also very long-term impacts that we're having. And then just public service in general. I've had the great fortune, I taught at a university for 13 years. And so I've literally had thousands of students, many of whom are still employed or are employed and they're my peers now. And I carry with me profound, like when former students reach out or former staff reach out and speaks to the impact I had, I honestly think that feels more profound to me than even the legacy business. So those are some things that I would hope are reflected upon when looking back on my career.
Fun one to ponder when you have time to sit and think, and that's the deep part of me that not a lot of people know, that I'm a pretty deep and journaling type of person. So I appreciate it.
I love learning that about you.
Yeah, same.
It's unique. It doesn't come out much unless I feel really comfortable with the people that I'm around. But it's yeah, it comes out every once in a while. A lot of it's just in my journal.
Thanks, Meredith.
Well, I love that we've had the chance to share, and I appreciate you guys, all three of you, giving of your time today and sharing this with everybody. And I love us being able to carry these conversations. I hope that some of the things that you guys have said spark conversations with others, and that they are able to relate to you guys. And I really appreciate y'all's time. So with that, do y'all have any closing thoughts?
Thanks so much, Hannah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, until next time, we'll see you later.
My love is a place you can always call.